Hey, it's Will You Survive the Podcast, and we're doing World War Z. I'm Eric.
And I'm Alex.
And we're going to jump right in because we have a lot to talk about. So World War Z is a movie directed by... Mark Foster, originally based off of the novel by Max Brooks, who also wrote Zombie Survival Guide, which we did a little bit of homework. And by that, I mean I read a third of the book and then never got to it. And how far did you get into the survival book?
I already read it.
Oh, okay.
I already read it, so I was rereading it.
Did you also read World War Z?
Yes, I did.
Okay. So, interesting thing about World War Z, the book, is it differs slightly from the movie because the movie it takes place during the apocalypse.
Yep.
And the book actually takes place afterwards.
Yep.
And it's a series of interviews of survivors telling you how it happened and where it started. So like we do with most of these, I think it's going to be easiest if we just start from the beginning, which it starts in Philadelphia.
Right.
The movie stars Brad Pitt.
Yep.
And
Brad Pitt, his co-star, his wife who plays Karen Lane, I will butcher her name. She has an ethnic name which is gorgeous. Muriel Enos.
Ooh.
And she plays his wife. They're a nuclear family of 4, including their daughters Rachel and Constance. And they start out typical family. You know, kids come running in, wake up the parents. One of the major changes or themes that you catch going on right away is Brad Pitt's character, Jerry, is watching the news as he's making breakfast. You have the sense that he's retired or between jobs, maybe. I always think retired.
Yeah, they kind of specify that he kind of quit his job. Like
yes.
He decided to stay home with his family instead of doing what he was doing, which they don't exactly specify in the beginning.
Right. Just that he worked for the UN.
Yes.
He was in many dangerous places all over the world. And he's watching the news. He's checking everything out. And you see that there are other nations that are implementing martial law. One of the kids asks him about it. His simplified dad response is martial law is house rules, but for everybody.
Yep, that is essentially what it is. Military takes control. In the book, the first country to do that was actually Israel and Jerusalem. They did it with their city. They had knowledge of the outbreaks before, which originally started in China. The movie explains that it started, we're jumping ahead a little bit, but this kind of just setting up foundation. The movie says that it started they kind of hint that it started in South Korea, but in the book they specify that it started in China. It started in China. The CIA knew something was going on in China, but they didn't know what. In the book, they interview a CIA agent who talks about it, and he says that they knew something was going on in China. They knew they were doing health sweeps. They knew there was executions going on, but China hid exactly what was going on. They didn't say that the virus was so deadly. They didn't say exactly what was happening. They just kind of played it off as, oh yeah, this is just some virus that's going around. Nothing to worry about, really.
Sounds slightly familiar.
Just a little bit. I don't know.
Where did I hear that before?
Oh god, it might have been like a movie or something, or I don't know.
You know what else I remember? I remember March of 2020, actually February of 2020. I'm seeing videos on YouTube that are showing what they said were zombie-like people.
Remember when there was
China.
that crazy video in China where this guy just like got up and went full on berserk? It was a little scary. Full on thought World War Z was coming.
Yeah.
It would have followed the book.
It would have followed the book. But in our World War Z, the family's clearly going on a trip somewhere. They're not emphasizing any of that stuff, which is good. They didn't waste our time with a whole lot of build up and really not even a whole lot of character introduction. We didn't get a lot of character development, which was okay.
I really like that about this movie. It like Shaun of the Dead was a lot of build up in the beginning. It was probably like the first 20 minutes was just all build up and setting up who the characters are, which it was great. That was great for that movie. But what I think is so special about World War Z is that they almost from the very beginning just jump right into the action. Everything starts going off as the second they hit Philadelphia,
Yep.
They're in the city, and I believe what happens first is that there's just a bunch of traffic, and it's just bumper to bumper, and then a cop on a motorcycle driving between the cars hits off their side view mirror.
Yep.
And Brad Pitt's character, what's his name? I forget.
Jerry.
Jerry comes out, and he's like, what the heck happened? Like, why would a cop do that and not even stop? So he gets out and kind of sees that there's a lot of stuff going on, and then an explosion happens, which I would assume would be like the gas lines underneath, or
we, from the viewer's perspective, we're not sure what can possibly cause that explosion, especially because we didn't see yet what was coming.
Yeah.
So I'm going to say we're Joe Schmo civilian in our car in a traffic jam. I see an explosion up ahead, a block or two forward, and I'm probably going to think, yeah, that's a gas leak. That's a gas main that just exploded. We have a big problem.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I'm necessarily going to think at that moment zombie apocalypse.
Oh, no. At that point, you're just thinking, yeah, like you said, gas leak or some sort of gas explosion, which not good, but also not zombies.
Right.
So
now what gave it away, the first thing that gave it away to me as I'm watching this movie, it's right at this point in the movie that a second motorcycle officer pulls up and tells Jerry Lane, get back in your car, stay in your vehicle. And as Jerry gets in his car, just barely closes the door, which we did see. We had some critics who called this out on a blooper because they did really botch this a bit. You have a shot showing front of the car to the back of the car, Jerry Lane standing there, the officer's pulling up behind him, yelling at him. He gets in the car. The officer pulls up parallel to his window, turns to him, gives him these instructions: don't get out of your car, stay in your car. Then all of a sudden, a large garbage truck is just plowing through all of traffic.
Yeah, they just showed a shot where you saw all the cars behind them bumper to bumper. First of all, there's no way that truck would have gotten there that fast. One, there was no path.
Yep.
Two, there's no way it would have gotten there that fast. And three, you don't think they would have heard it coming?
It would have been plowing the cars all behind them.
Yeah, there's no way that cop wouldn't have known it was coming behind him. But dramatic feature.
It was.
I think that's honestly probably... There's one other part that we heavily critiqued, but that was something we didn't even notice until reading about it later on when we read through the bloopers and everything.
I can't take credit for this part. I actually read this long ago. One of the problems with this is the director was trying to show you without showing you that driver of the garbage truck was infected.
Ah, yeah.
You get a shot through the windshield, and he's twitching and convulsing in the driver's seat, and then it takes a shot inside of the cab with him looking down at his feet, and his foot is trembling underneath, pounding on the gas but stuck underneath the brake, and he's kind of going through this horrific change into the zombie, and that's what's causing this plow forward of this garbage truck that he's just going. Many questions. How did he get back in the truck? How did he start driving the truck? How is there not another zombie in there with him?
Yeah, considering in Philadelphia the virus transformed in 12 seconds.
That was what we saw. We saw Jerry Lane counted it out. It was 12 seconds.
Yeah, when we finally knew it was zombies. We didn't know, but anybody watching knew it was zombies already. I mean, you don't go watch a movie called World War Z and not expect there to be zombies.
At some point.
Yeah. So the zombies, now the characters are seeing these creatures. They're seeing them extremely athletic, very different from Shaun of the Dead. The exact polar opposite of Shaun of the Dead zombies. These are even worse than Dawn of the Dead zombies, because Dawn of the Dead zombies, they just ran. They full-on sprinted, but they pretty much still had human capacity, or human limitations. Their body couldn't leap like they could in World War Z.
Yeah,
in World War Z, they were all gymnasts, apparently.
Yeah, they were throwing their bodies around, and it was futile to try to stop them, even with a gun in hand. You watched in Philadelphia as all of the military, which now, after this garbage truck plows through all of the traffic, you saw that it was a military blockade. they were trying to stop this thing. They were trying to stop this virus, this spread, whatever it is, where it was at. They wanted to cut it off right there. And you got that later from a helicopter view when they said containment efforts have failed.
Yep.
And that's when you know.
A similar thing happened in the book where he interviews an ex-soldier who was on the front lines. They decided to do one big battle. They decided, we're just going to take on all the zombies from New York.
It was New York.
Yeah, from Manhattan. They were drawing them out, and they were going to set up a blockade, and they were going to take them all out. They had these big plans, and the ex-military guy says, it was a good idea. It was a good plan. That was the only good plan, though. It was a good idea to do that, to raise morale in the country, to show that we're not going to go down from this. Your military is going to be there to fight with you. Yep. He explains the problem is that they all did it for show. Yeah. They didn't actually expect these things to be as dangerous as they were. The tanks could hold 40 shells. They gave them 3. Mm-hmm. They dressed up their infantry in these heavy, big suits that were made for like explosions, as if the zombies were going to be shooting at them or throwing grenades.
Right.
So they're weighed down. Not to mention, he says that there was an apartment building next to them, 20 stories tall. They could have had a sniper nest in every single floor, LMGs on the ground, but no, they decided they were going to do it for show, and they ended up getting overrun. And it was a horrible thing because the bombs weren't killing them. Yep. If it didn't destroy the brain, it didn't stop them.
That's right.
And they were saying even the ones that were completely mutilated were still coming after them.
That's right.
And they say the public criticized them, saying, oh, all these expert marksmen, and they couldn't even get them. And he explains it's so different. You're trained all your life to shoot center mass because that's what kills. And now all of a sudden you have to hit the head, and these things are full-on sprinting and jumping around. It's not an easy shot.
And the movie was a little more forgiving than the book in that. When we get, let's move on a little bit as we go, because the first place we want to cover is after we see Philadelphia fall. The first time you see this, that's when you get to know how fast this thing happens. Whether it's 12 seconds, whatever. The point is it was super fast.
Yeah, they turned very quickly.
I say whatever, not because it wasn't 12 seconds, but because a lot of critics were grumpy over the fact that they used this little setup feature where the little child drops a doll that counts, and you're hearing that counting as Jerry Lane is running. He grabs that doll because the girl drops it and says, oh, my doll. And, I can understand what us parents do, and it may not always be the wise, all-encompassing, comprehensive thought, but he grabs this thing, as stupid as it was, and it counts out for him as he's turning and watching all of this go down, from bite to this person is now back up, completely different. So what's wild about this virus, it doesn't even kill you first.
Nope. It just turns you.
If it kills you in just
a matter
a
of
simple
seconds.
Bite on the arm. Not even a fatal bite, not even a jugular bite. We've seen movies that show somebody get sliced on the jugular. It takes them longer than 12 seconds to bleed out.
If this virus killed before it turned, between bite to turning, the bite would have had to kill the brain. Well, not necessarily kill the brain, but kill the body. Enough for the body to think it was dead. Yep. And then the virus would turn it. The only problem with that is that I don't know of any virus that kills in less than 12 seconds after infection. That's an incredibly fast-spreading virus. So we're led to believe that they don't have to die first.
Right. And so when you get this comprehension, this is fast. This is faster than anything you've ever seen. You're not going to be able to stand around and contemplate your options here.
You just got to move. And that's what he said. He said survival is, what did he say?
Movement is survival.
Movement is
life. Movement is life.
If you don't move, you're dead.
And they get into a conveniently abandoned RV. This is plot armor.
Well, we actually saw the guy get out. We saw the guy pull up. It's very quick. They don't really put a lot of emphasis in it, but I did notice that because I was kind of wondering when I watched it. This was my millionth time watching this movie. I was kind of wondering, where did they get that RV? So, you watch the guy actually get out and then get bit. So But I don't know why he would get out in the first place.
That's what I don't know. I don't know why you're going to stop, why you're going to get out.
But either way, they grab this RV, they all hop in, and then they head to New Jersey. And this is where Jerry was getting a call from somebody he used to work with and was pretty much asking, where are you? Where can we get you? And he said, we're on our way to New Jersey, and we're
in Newark. They had no real destination, so they're just on the move. They
had to go to a store because his daughter was having an asthma attack,
right?
Which we did talk about.
We covered this.
Be prepared for that.
Always be prepared.
Don't have to go to a store, especially when everything is first going down, because we saw the two grocery clerks were trying to rape his wife.
Right.
They were trying to do that.
Anarchy.
Yeah.
Anarchy.
One of them shot at Jerry, and he ended up having to kill him.
Yep.
And then a cop pulls up and starts running towards them, and he thinks like, oh, shit, this cop's about to arrest me. And the cop walks right by and just starts grabbing supplies.
Goes to what? Baby food.
Yep.
You know, so this is, I brought this up before in regards to when Texas froze out weeks ago. And the mayor of a small town, Colorado City, he ended up resigning because he criticized his constituents, telling them the many are expecting the few to do everything for them. There are too many able-bodied men and women who can get up and do something for yourselves and for your family. And I firmly agree with that. Maybe people think that he should have said it differently, but I still come from that generation that was told by John F. Kennedy, ask not what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country. We are the country. The people are the country, not
a government.
The government. And the problem with this type of situation is relying on the government for everything. You know, in that particular situation, it was a deep freeze that you lived in Texas.
Yep.
You said it was this is a once in a century storm is what they called it.
Oh yeah, no. I lived there for 10 years. It snowed twice.
Right.
Once in 2008 and then another time. I wasn't even living there at the time. It was like 2017 when I went to visit my then girlfriend.
Oh yeah.
And we were going to go to a party and all the roads were iced out.
Yeah.
It was crazy. We never see that out there.
Right.
But yeah, it froze over. But you know what I think? The ironic thing is that if people didn't want the government to help them with their every single need, the government would be able to help out people who actually needed help, and they would be able to help more.
That's my point. My point is, if the strong, able-bodied people can take care of their families, if the millions can take care of themselves, the government can take care of the tens of thousands who can't.
Exactly. So they get out of this shopping center, or this store, and he gets a call from his I don't know what he was to him, but the guy he used to work with. I don't remember what his name was in the Terry. So
it's spelled weird, but the way they pronounce it is Terry.
So Terry calls, and he's basically saying, "Where are you? Where can we get you? We want to get a helicopter out to you." And his wife points out, Jerry's wife points out, there's an apartment building, and he says apartment buildings in Newark, and I guess in some way specifies that. Oh, they say they have a flare.
Yep,
and that'll be their indicator. And so he says you're going to have to hold out until the morning.
Right.
So they make.
Now we have a little nuance here. There's a little nuance we missed that is rather important. It's the first time they spoke while they were on the travel. Terry tells Jerry, "This is not for old time's sake, my friend. I need you back." And he says, "I'm not going to do that." And they said, "Okay, good luck to you." It was Jerry who called Terry back and said, "We're in Newark.
I didn't even
Things have gotten bad. Their RV got stolen. So all the supplies they just grabbed were useless. They can't carry everything that they just grabbed."
Yep.
And now they're on the move, so they make their way to apartment buildings, which was just a few blocks away. They're able to make it to those apartment buildings, but not before we see all hell break loose again. And one of the most contributing factors was you saw a zombie, what seems to fall out of the sky after an explosion down the block, and lands on a car and is still moving and twitching and getting ready to get up, and they have to get up and run.
Yes, this was right as they were getting to the apartment complex. And this is actually where they first hint at sick people not being targeted by the infected, because you see a homeless guy sitting on the street drinking, it looked like just a beer, and zombies just run right past
Right
him,
by him,
chasing Jerry and them into the apartment complex.
Yep.
So that was the first hint at what ends up being revealed much later in the movie. So they're in this apartment complex, and let me just say, they set this whole scene up fantastically. It is so spooky the whole time. It's dark. The power is out. Obviously, if it's dark, the zombies are behind them. You hear these faint screams in the background. You hear the zombies wailing, and they're trying to just find anywhere that they can be safe. And they end up getting into this floor, and they're all walking down the hallways and on high alert, prepared for anything. And they walk into one of the apartments, and you just see blood everywhere, bodies, and that's when you hear the little girl screaming, "Let us in." And so they run over to the girl. It's Jerry's youngest, and they see there's another family. There's another family sitting there looking at her, and they hear some zombie screams in the background, and then Jerry looks at the guy and kind of just decides, we're coming in, and tells his family to go in, and then they go in.
And when they're there, that's when we first hear movement is life. I've been to a lot of places. Now, they didn't speak English. Their kid, Tommy, who ends up coming along with them later, is translating for him, and he's telling him, I've been in a lot of places where all chaos breaks down. You know, the government breaks down. There is no order. There is no system. Movement is life. We have to keep those who moved stayed alive. Those who stayed died. And see, that's where it's very interesting to me, because he already knew what was going on. He saw it firsthand.
He didn't know exactly what was happening, but he knew how to survive.
Which is interesting because, by all accounts, if we hold my standpoint on this, which is you stay put until you know what's what. You have to know which way is up before you get outside and you start running around like a chicken without your head and making matters worse, because you're contributing to the problem. You know, we can't carry all of our supplies. We can't carry all of our food, all of our water. We don't have that ability to just grab 56 gallons of water, and I'm just making up a number, and go hauling out there. So what do? You stay put until you know what's what. You fortify, you preserve, you ration, you stay alert, you stay as readily available to be on the move without actually jumping out there.
Yeah, unfortunately, the Lane family did not have that luxury. They were out in the middle of a very populated city. That would like be us. What was that sentence? That would be like us all being out in LA and this all breaks out.
Right.
You're in the middle of downtown LA. You're not going anywhere.
Right.
You need to get out of there.
Right.
You don't stay put. There's nowhere to go.
Yeah, you have to find a place to go, which is your first option is go home.
Yes.
That's where more of your stuff is. And like I always say it, that counts for anything. One of the most recent things in this month is St. Vincent is having a active volcano. This is down south of Anguilla. I think this is just north of, is it Puerto Rico? No, not Puerto Rico. I'm sorry. I think it's, I'm sorry. It's all of those Caribbean islands, and I'm forgetting what the main island is, but it's erupting, and people are trying to get off. They're wanting to evacuate. And, you know, these are the kind of things that all of these emergencies, it creates the same kind of chaos no matter what. You're going to have lawlessness. You're going to have man-on-man crime. People will be harming each other either for their goods, for their own fun and entertainment, because that's just what happens in evil men when there is nobody to punish them. They go on a rampage. They do what they want to do, and they do it without fear of any kind of retaliation. That's why we brought up Newark, New Jersey, where the Lane family goes into the grocery store, and here's the middle of chaos. And you have these grocery store clerks who decide the right thing to do right now is rape this woman in the middle of a crowded store. And it even tells you how much society broke down, how fast. Because everybody around could watch that, could see it happening out of the corner of their eye, and say, I don't care.
They were doing their own thing. They were trying to get their stuff.
I have to get my shit and get out of here. And so, watch out for that. The societal breakdown is going to be instantaneous. So now, without the plot armor, I don't go anywhere. I'm not running out. I'm fortifying in. And I might last for a little while. I actually think we could do pretty well. But this takes on a whole new level of concern when you take these things are so attracted to noise. And we learn that early on. I mean, right after Newark, they barely get out of this apartment. They barely make it. I mean, they make the move. They run. We actually find that after they tell this family that and they leave, the family stays behind, you see, or hear rather, the noise of these things in the hallway and pounding on the door.
Yeah, they're putting a cabinet back in front of the door, and you hear them arguing. It sounds like the mother is kind of saying, like, we should have gone. And the dad's like, no, we need to stay put. And then you hear the pound at the door.
Right.
And then the lock starts jiggling, and because they're pounding the door so hard.
And there's so many of them.
And they're going to break it down.
And then you have the tense moment. Jerry meets one of these things in the hallway. But we gotta give him props. The writer and the director, we got to give him props for something. Something that I loved that they did in this, that they don't do it in very many zombie movies, but this was just fantastic. He armored his wrists up.
With magazines and duct tape.
He armored his wrists up, and it came in handy.
Yep, when they got to the top.
They got to the top, and he's holding the door shut, and their mouth is right on it.
They broke through the glass in the door, and they were trying to bite at his wrist. But as they were going up, they ended up having this whole chase scene where they're running up the stairs, trying to get to the roof. It's morning now. They stayed the night with the family. Yep. So they just left. They're running up. The zombies are chasing them behind, and they get to the roof, and Jerry ends up fending off against like 3 of them, and one of them is on top of him, and the zombie's screaming. And this is one of my favorite parts of the entire movie.
Well thought out.
Very well thought out, and very quick thinking by Jerry, very selfless thinking by Jerry. He gets blood in his mouth. The zombie's spitting and screaming, and the blood is getting all over his face, and you hear him.
He's on his back. He taped a knife to his rifle. He has the zombie impaled, but of course it's still just writhing on top of him. So it can't get close because it's impaled and the gun is holding him away, but he's bleeding all over Jerry as Jerry's lying on his back, and he's getting it in his mouth. And he's then screaming.
The little boy managed to escape and shoots the zombie that's on top of Jerry. And so Jerry looks at him, and the boy looks at him, and then they give that silent, let's move. So they start going, and Jerry runs. He throws the gun down and runs to the edge of the building, and he just stands there. And his wife and his whole family is screaming, no, what are you doing? Don't do it. And he stops there, and he counts 1, 2, 3, and he gets all the way to 12. And then he stops, and he steps down from the ledge, and then he tells his family, I got blood in my mouth. I didn't know. I didn't know if I was going to become one of those things. And that's when the helicopter starts showing up, and Jerry runs to go hold the door because more zombies are coming.
Yep.
And as he's holding the door, that's when the zombies break the glass, and they go to bite his forearm, but it's covered. He had it protected. And I think this is one of the coolest scenes, but this is where we had our biggest critique. The family gets on to the helicopter, and there's 2 armed guys who come off of the helicopter, and they pretty much give Jerry the okay, like, run. So Jerry lets go of the door, and he starts running, and the first zombie that comes out is actually the little boy's father.
Oh, Dad.
Yeah, the one who didn't want to leave.
That was kind of devastating.
A little bit. Honestly, the boy didn't seem that messed up by it.
Oh, he went through a lot, and he kind of just trooped it out.
You don't see him too much, but from what you do see of him, he doesn't really seem all that bothered by what's going on. So this is our biggest critique, though, at least mine. Jerry gets on to the helicopter, and as they're pulling away, one zombie jumps on and grabs at the railing of the helicopter, and the armed guy shoots this thing in the head about 5 times. Now, this is a standard issued military rifle. That's a 5.56 round. 2 of those rips a head apart point blank range. And this thing was just tanking headshots.
I mean, he goes like full auto on it.
It was like a good 5 to 7 5.56 rounds directly
boom,
into this
boom,
thing's
boom.
head. And it just kind of flinched as it was getting shot. Like, not only would that head be completely blown and destroyed, a zombie dies to a headshot.
Yeah.
So,
And they confirmed it right after this.
They do, right after. Especially when he gets to South Korea, they talk about that. But now they're on the helicopter. They got saved. They go to this boat. And this is where you brought up a really good point. Somehow, Jerry seemed to think he was going to get free shelter and safety for his entire family and him for free. For no work at all. And when he's asked to do the job that he used to do, to help them figure out how to beat this virus, he goes, "Oh, I can't do that.
Can't ask me to leave my family." Well, what? We got your family covered. All right. We'll take care of them here on the ship, isolated away from everything. You have a special talent.
I love what that captain said. He said, "Look around. Every single one of these people here are doing a job. We don't have room for dead weight on this ship."
Yep.
And Jerry didn't really have a choice.
Yep.
So,
Which it was still very gracious that the captain said, "We'll take care of your family if you do this."
As payment, pretty much.
So our first destination is South
Korea.
Korea. And
This is where they say the virus started in the movie.
Now, let's be fair. Not necessarily this is where the virus started. They told us this is what we know. This is where the first reports came out of. And we learned that it was from a soldier who had left, I think defected even, and took off out middle of nowhere, forest somewhere. They found him wandering around, and I think they used the words foaming at the mouth and oozing black stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And brought him back, have him kind of quarantined, and as the doctor is trying to check him out,
he reanimates. Now, here's something interesting, and what I find very cool, that they put this kind of detail into it, is that the virus in South Korea, they say took minutes.
5 to 10 minutes.
In Philadelphia, it took seconds.
So that tells me
it's
actually
a different strain.
Mutated faster.
Mm-hmm.
Which is,
it became more deadly as it spread to the west.
That's uncharacteristic of a normal virus. Normal viruses, as they mutate, they become weaker.
Yeah, because the ones that do become stronger just kill the host.
Right.
Which in this case is not the end, but...
Right.
That's why the zombies wouldn't go for the sick people.
Person.
We found out that very later on in the movie, at the end, they find out that lethal illnesses, ones that we know to be fatal, zombies don't want anything to do with it because the virus needs a healthy host. So they don't want anybody who's, in a sense, infected.
Which, scientifically speaking, I've seen many different reports on that. It wouldn't matter. Pathogens wouldn't have an ability to know that.
Yeah.
A virus wouldn't know that somebody else is sick. But what would have been cool, they could have done this, that people who had been attacked, they had been bitten, etc., but never turned. It was like, well, why? Because the virus doesn't duplicate in 6 cells.
Yeah.
And then they would find that every one of those people had some kind of fatal illness. You know, I think one of them they used was bacterial meningitis. One of them was cancer. When they have all of those types of illnesses, that the virus just won't replicate because there's so many flawed cells. There are so many sick cells that the virus runs the risk of saying, hey, duplicate more of me sick.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to kill myself. No, I can't do that. So it infects the person, but just doesn't replicate.
The virus just kind of dies off.
Yeah, so they never notice anything changing in those people.
Now, what I will say, what I found interesting in Philadelphia, and I purposely saved this for this format to talk about it, I found it interesting that a lot of zombie movies, like Dawn of the Dead, once they start eating on somebody, unless they're killed, they will just keep eating.
Right. Or distracted.
Or distracted. See, that's my theory. My theory is there was just so much going on in Philadelphia that it was kind of a, ooh, food, bite, oh, more food, bite, oh, more.
So your point was that in Philadelphia, the zombies acted like they had some kind of ADHD.
They were jumping from person to person, just giving a single bite, not feeding. They weren't like, I got this guy, now I'm just going to rip him apart and eat him. And normally in most zombie movies, you would see more zombies join in on one guy. Like, oh, you got one. Okay, cool. But this one, it seemed like they were intent on increasing their numbers.
Yeah.
They had a purpose.
Move. And, you know, as we go along, some more information about this these zombies. We find out, again, we get Jerry's second item of proof as they're standing there describing all of the mayhem that occurred in the cell. Where were you during all of this? They point to the soldier. Is that how you injured your leg? Nah, that thing's been bothering me for a while. So Jerry pointed that out. He knew, okay, well, there's some kind of attachment here. But what was interesting was everything was going on around this soldier, and he was just standing in the middle of it. I think he was fighting, but he wasn't being bitten. He wasn't being attacked.
They talked about that. All of them... all the people around him were going crazy. They were turning. They were eating each other, and none of them were going after him. And that you did see Jerry kind of get confused, like, why? Why you? Why did they not go after you? There's something special.
Yep.
So this
was his job, by the way. He was an investigator for the UN. He did exactly that. He would investigate major civil disturbances, revolutions, insurrections, all of these militia groups, guerrilla warfare. He'd go into these really gnarly countries and investigate all of these types of crimes and any type of I want to call it rebellions, but even worse, we're talking about things like major drug use, drug trafficking, and major crime type things. So he's investigating all of these wild things, which, to bring up the book, that interrogator is doing the exact same thing.
Yeah.
How did this happen? What was the start of it? What was the end of it? What is the in between? And he was going around to everyone and investigating all of this. So that is the one part that I think the movie took on very similar to the book. Let's just say it's a different perspective. Same investigation at a different time.
Yeah, it's a present tense rather than a future or a past tense.
Right.
So the book written in a future, this is what happened, and the movie, this is what is happening.
Right.
So
we leave South Korea thinking we didn't learn anything.
Well, there is one thing that happens in between there that really bothers me. He had a satellite phone.
Oh, yeah.
And he gave his wife another satellite phone, and he said, I will call you once a day. And if you get that call, that means I'm okay. So what does she do? I'm going to call him.
Well, he called her first.
But he had bad signal.
The call wouldn't go through. They tried. You know, it's that typical cell phone. Can you hear me? Click. Okay, well, I got to go about my business. I got to go on my mission. And you see, I do got to give her credit, though. Okay, I know your frustration. I know it. But I got to give her credit because she sat there and she waited and they tried. They could have done a better job. I think the director did a great job, but I think he could have done a better job here rather than just frustrating us. She was struggling because this is her husband.
Mm-hmm.
She loves him. She's worried about him. She wants to make sure he's okay. I'm with you. Okay, I got to make that clear.
Cost of the lives of like 4 guys.
And she makes the decision as she's looking at the phone, and she makes the decision, well, I'm just going to call him. And she does, and they're in the middle of a mission, and it's a stealth mission. And if there's ever a time that you need to be absolutely silent.
They were riding on bikes in the rain so that they wouldn't make any noise at all as they were going to refuel the plane. And I get it. There's no way she could have known.
Right.
So you can't really fault her. But at the same time, he did say he would call.
Right.
And when you know he's out there, you know what's out there. She saw it.
That's the part that I say I'm with you.
You know how dangerous it is. Why would you put him in a situation like that? You don't know if you're putting him in a dangerous situation like that.
Well, you have to assume that you are.
You have to assume that right now, if I call, I may get him killed. I need to wait for him to call because when he calls, he'll know he's safe.
I could end up ruining this mission.
Which she did. I mean, they were able to get the plane fueled and they were able to take off. But also, something we didn't mention, they brought a guy who was supposed to be humanity's best chance at finding a cure, and he shot himself because he's a fucking dumbass.
Oh, he got afraid.
He got scared when they were getting off the plane originally when they first landed.
All the zombies were rushing them.
So he ran back up, but because it was slippery, which Jerry told him, don't put your finger on the trigger until you're ready to shoot.
Take your finger off the trigger.
So he's running up back into the plane. He slips, he falls, and when he lands, the gun right on his head.
Blows himself away. But
embarrassing.
Before he did that, we will say he's the one who gave Jerry some of the best information. Mother Nature is the all-time greatest serial killer. And just like all serial killers,
she wants to be caught.
She must. What's the point in completing the most perfect crime
if nobody knows you did it?
Nobody takes the credit, right? So she is a bitch, right? So he gave him one of the ideas, which was sometimes, actually I think he said most of the time, a virus's most vicious attribute is actually its chink in the armor. And so that is something that left Jerry in kind of a state of bewilderment.
How can these things are so vicious? They don't feel pain. They just keep coming. They are extremely dangerous. How can that be their weakness?
And now, mind you, Jerry is actually on the lookout for patient 0.
Yeah, he's trying to find... Well, he just wants to know, where did it start? Because, like they explained...
That's why.
To solve any virus, you have to first find out, where did it begin?
You find patient 0, and you find a vaccine.
So that's why they went to South Korea, because the first reports were out of South Korea.
That's right.
Unfortunately, in that room where all those zombies were, they burned everything.
Yep.
Including the files that were there.
Yep.
And that's when he said, Jerry asked I guess the captain, we'll call him.
Captain.
He asked him, are there any files? And he goes, yeah. And he points over and it's just a bunch of ashes. And he goes, you're more than welcome to look through if you want. And so that's when Jerry realizes there's nothing here. There's nothing that I haven't already gotten from here that I will. So they leave.
And they even tell him to stop. Don't even bother looking for patient 0.
No way you're going to find it.
It came out of nowhere.
So they leave. They got away. I estimate 4 guys died in this process because of his wife calling.
Yeah.
But
including the captain.
Yeah, including the captain who ended up shooting himself. Well, on purpose.
Yeah, he got bit.
Not by accident.
He got bit, and he went out, saying the same thing. I can't believe it. I'm going to be a Zeke. And I said, well, I got you if you just say the word.
The sniper said, say the word, Captain. I got you on my side. He said, nah, I got this one, boys. And he steps just out of frame, and you hear the gunshot.
Dramatic.
Very dramatic.
But one of the other really cool things that the actor doesn't even get a name. I don't even know. I think he's just called Paratrooper. I'm not really sure. But there was a guy in the plane with them.
Oh, they were ready to take off.
And they said, we got to disconnect the hoses. And he turns and says, fuck, Israel better be worth it.
and he runs out there to disconnect it. You presumably he dies.
There are so many of them all around, and the whole cargo section of the plane is completely filled with them when they're taking off, but they have the cockpit door shut and sealed. The cargo bay door is open. They take off. He says, make it steep, and you see them all come falling out of the back of it, which was kind of cool.
Yeah, it was cool. So next stop, Jerusalem. So
one of the coolest things that they did here was Jerusalem was standing. Jerusalem was fine. Jerusalem built a wall.
Yes. So according to the book, they don't really explain this too much. They do explain it, but not in a lot of detail. So we'll start in the beginning. They say, I don't know if this is like actually true, like if he got this from actual history and then embellished the zombie part, but apparently there was, on their holiest day, they were attacked by multiple nations at the same time.
The 10-day war.
They were almost extinct. The Jews almost finished what Hitler tried to do.
Again.
They almost were completely extinct. So they came up with a rule. And the reason they came up with this rule is that all 10 members of their council decided there was no threat. And then they almost went extinct. So they decided if 9 people on the council all agree that there is no threat, it is the 10th man's job. It is his duty to disagree and prove it. He needs to prove that he is right. He needs to try with all of his might. Even if he's wrong, he has to try and prove it.
Make the case.
So the 10th man is the one Jerry ends up meeting. And he talks to him, and Jerry's kind of asking him, how are you so prepared? Like, how did you
complete a wall that you've been building for millennia?
And all of a sudden, it just so happens to finish weeks before this all happens. And that's when the guy comes out and says, there was evidence of this happening. This wasn't out of the blue like everyone was saying. There was evidence. Everybody ignored it.
Yep.
Nobody believed it. Nobody, you hear, they talked about the memo that had the word zombies.
Yep.
And they were like, oh, no, don't use that word. That was what was happening, though. And it was this guy.
Picture them like Simon Pegg in Shaun of the Dead. We don't use that word.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's what they are. We don't use that word.
So this guy set out to prove that this was all happening. And in the book, he talks about all the reports he pulled together. He pulled together all these reports to prove it. And that's when they decided, we need to build this wall. He interviews, in the book, he interviews an Arab man who he said when this happened, he was 17. And he could not believe that his father was going to take refuge in Jerusalem. And he was saying, how could you don't even believe in the cause. We're just going to go there and be slaves to them. And you're willingly going. And he said he was real standing up to his father. And his father was always this meek man, never really spoke up. And his father threw him against the wall and said, you will go with us. You're coming with this family. You're not staying here. And the interviewer asked him, he says, well, did that change your opinion? And he goes, some martyr I was. I think I cried the whole way to Egypt. So when they get to Israel, or when they get to Jerusalem, they had a very interesting screening process.
Yep.
They would, one by one, walk past dogs. Mm-hmm. And if the dogs went off, then they would pull them aside. They were infected. Mm-hmm. And that Israel found out that was a way to a solid way to find out who was infected and not. So this Arab boy sees one of his Arab brethren get taken away, and he's going, yeah, see, that's exactly what I was talking about. But then him and his family walked by, and the dogs didn't do anything. And he says he looks back, and an American man, a white American man, walks by the dogs, and they start barking. And so the guards pull him aside, and that's when the Arab boy realized it's not a race thing. Like that. This has to be something else. The dogs are triggering something. That the dogs are sensing something. It's not a race thing. And that's when he realized Jerusalem was. It was not. It didn't matter. All the quarrels of the world before did not matter anymore. Yep. And I like what the man says, I don't know his name. I don't know if they ever really specify his name.
Yeah, he has a name. I believe it's Jurgen.
He was, I would call him the leader of Jerusalem.
Yeah, he was one of the councilmen.
So Jerry was also confused. Jerry asked him, he said, you're letting everybody in.
That was one of the best quotes.
Every person that we save is one less zombie to fight.
That's it.
It didn't matter anymore. The previous world, all the problems, all the race wars and everything, didn't matter.
Religious wars.
None of that mattered anymore. So
it's us and them.
That was really cool. And by the way, that is a good example of when CGI is incredible. Those walls, that whole city, that was incredible. That's such a cool scene. So the way Jerusalem kind of plays out, they land, he's getting all this information from him. The book gives you a lot more information, but he gets most of this information from, we'll call him Jurgen. I don't exactly know his name. Okay, that was? Okay. And then the problem happens. They're standing in front of the gates where the screenings are happening, and this group of, I don't know what race they were really, but they start singing. They're singing, they're happy, they're saved. And one lady grabs a microphone, which pissed me off. Okay, at this point, you have to know they're attracted to sound.
You have to.
Why would you grab a microphone?
You have to. You were just brought in there. You just barely made it. And now you're going to grab a microphone.
Like, I get it, you're happy,
making all
but
kinds of noise.
What? So they do this, and the zombies start. This is where we find out they're ants.
Yeah, they'll just climb on top of each other.
And now
they will fall, and they will get back up and do it again.
Here's where they kind of pointed something out that was a little messed up. There was helicopters.
The critics, you mean?
Yeah, the critics. There was helicopters circling Jerusalem, and they didn't even know the zombies were breaching the wall until they were already over the wall.
Right.
Seems a little unlikely, but whatever. That happens.
We needed the drama.
So we'll kind of skip through most of the action because there's not really any information that happens, but awesome scene in that movie.
Oh,
so much action.
You get to see the sheer power. We always talk about the difference between a single zombie and a horde, right? The power is demonstrated very well in this, in a scene right at the beginning of the fall, when they have now overrun the military and they're running at this bus. It's a bus that's parked sideways across the path, and they just hit the bus like the ocean or like a freaking freight train, and it just topples over, and all of them behind it crush each other into it, and there's no regard. They're not friendly with each other. They don't care about each other. This
is more the type of zombie that I was trying to explain in the Dawn of the Dead episode. They don't think. There's nothing will stop them. They will not stop trying to get to their prey.
They just go. And climbing on top of each other, crushing each other into a bus. They don't care.
However they get their food.
That's why I like to say like ants, because ants will sacrifice themselves. I've watched this. One of the craziest things about ants.
They'll make a raft.
They will make, not a raft, they will make a bridge of their own corpses.
Oh, I didn't know that. I know that if they get flooded, especially red ants, it's very common in Texas rivers. That's why when you're floating the river, if you see a random floating pile, don't go near it. It's a pile of ants. They're stacking on top of each other to keep the queen alive.
Oh,
it's really cool. It's very cool. But that's why it is a really good analogy. These zombies in World War Z are a lot like ants.
They are.
They don't have a queen to protect, but they will get to wherever they're going. They will find a way.
And just like ants, they have to be instigated, if you will. So ants won't just go. There has to be a reason.
They have to have a reason to go.
Food or defense. And
these zombies don't have defense. They just have food.
That's the what we get to see there. And I appreciate the director showing it. The kind of chaos that these things can cause, and the kind of power.
How quickly a city so well prepared and defendable fell.
So we're going to skip by a lot of plot armor because they end up getting on a plane. The what bugs me is the military guy, the guy who knows that Jerry is humanity's last hope, if you will. He's still a part of this military group, and he takes off. Nope, not waiting around.
Yeah,
I'm gone.
That baffled me. He asked the tower for a clear takeoff, and they gave it to him, and he just left.
Yep.
Like, how scared do you have to? Like, obviously he was just scared, but like, what a coward, dude! He left them behind. So obviously that helps progress the movie a little bit. So they end up taking a commercial plane. They not confiscate, but they stop a plane that's about to take off. The Jerusalem army stops them, and
Belarus Air.
Yep. And that's when Jerry and what was her name?
Her name is Sigan.
Sigan. Okay. So Jerry and Sigan go up. Sigan has half an arm because she got bit. And Jerry,
we do have to talk about that.
This was so cool.
Quick thinking. Didn't know if it would work.
Had no idea.
Worth a shot.
Grabbed a machete.
Watched as she got bit.
Chopped her arm off.
Oh, man. Throwback. I mean, this was...
She was just as shocked as he was.
It was that. There was The Walking Dead when they cut off Herschel's leg.
Yeah.
So there's some precedent there where they thought amputating...
You can beat the virus.
And
then
it worked.
It did. Now, here's my question. Israel, where is that in the world? That's on the eastern side of the world, closer to China than it is to the U.S.
Middle East, north of Africa.
Okay. And Africa, in the book, they say it was originally called the African rabies.
Mm-hmm.
So my question, how fast were they turning in Jerusalem?
Oh, boy.
I don't think they really ever show you how quickly people were turning because there was already so many zombies that were infiltrating that it didn't really, they didn't have to have the people in Jerusalem turning in that moment. There was already enough of them to be a threat. So, oh yeah, right by Egypt. Okay.
Just above, just north.
So how fast were they turning is my question, because if it was as fast as in Philadelphia, I don't think cutting off the arm would help.
See,
I think it would spread so fast. But it would make sense if it was in Israel. If the virus spreads slower in the body, then
maybe if it
that could make
so you
sense.
mean if it was a older mutation, it's an older variant.
Yes, if it was like the variant that came from China, then that takes minutes to to turn somebody.
Okay.
Then maybe they could beat the virus to the blood.
We're still going to call it plot armor, but super cool.
It could be. We'll call it plot armor. It's more likely than not it was plot armor. But it was cool because Jerry, he explains, she said, how did you know it would work when they're in the plane? And he says, I didn't.
Yeah.
He had no idea. That it was purely, I hope this works.
Instinctual, did it because he really didn't have a choice. He was going to be stuck with a zombie sitting with him while they were hunkered in that position right there because they just threw a grenade, which killed a whole bunch of them, blocked a pathway. So here I'm going to be stuck with this fucking zombie.
And he saw how fast they turned in Philadelphia. He had no idea.
Yep.
He had no idea if she was going to turn in a couple of seconds or a couple of minutes or no idea.
So super duper cool. Awesome little display there. They get out on Belarus Air, and I have a grievance. I have a grievance here.
Okay.
Any pilots listening, if you're fleeing a zombie apocalypse and you have members of the military getting on board,
don't take their weapons.
Don't throw their weapons away.
What the fuck?
You are no longer talking about your regular fucking hijacking problem.
They're not going to hijack your plane. They're like, I do agree with you. I think that was so stupid when they were climbing up through a hatch that led to the cockpit. Because they couldn't just redock and open up the terminal and go through the doors like normal. So they climb up this ladder and they throw the weapons down as they go. Luckily, what was her name again? Sigan had a secondary attached, I presume, to her thigh or to her.
I thought it was just a
calf.
holster, but whatever the case may be, I did like the whole scene in the plane. You ruined my illusion because I always loved that scene because there is a zombie on board. It starts turning, and just because it this is why I would say plot armor with Sagan, because they're all turning on the plane
and nobody hears
super fast. That was another problem.
Nobody hears.
Plot armor.
There's a curtain in between. That's not soundproof.
Only Jerry who's hearing all of this, and he gets up and he starts walking over.
He kind of dreams it because he's like sleeping, and then it shows us what's happening, and then he wakes up and then goes to investigate, and that's when he peeps behind the curtain and sees all this chaos going and says, "Nope!"
Screaming, and they're being eaten alive, and yet the people in first class here, who they I guess their big chairs and their headphones.
Yeah,
they couldn't hear anything.
I'm sorry. In a zombie apocalypse, I don't care how safe you think you are in a plane. I'm not wearing headphones. No. I love music. No. I'm not going to. I already have bad hearing as it is. I'm not going to risk that.
But it's for the scene. So the scene goes well.
Plot armor.
It's all plot armor, and our characters are going to survive. But
not without a fight.
The only point that I wanted to bring up on the flight that I just loved that they did was as they're overrun, Jerry looks at Sagan. They look around the plane. They see it's lost. The plane is lost. We're out of ammo. She expended her sidearm. That's it. We're done. She has a grenade on her hip. He grabs it, pulls the pin, throws it, blows a hole in the cabin, and just starts sucking all of them out. And then Erik ruined it for me.
Sorry.
He read the critiques that said that would not happen.
Scientifically, and this is just according to a critique. It could be completely wrong. I know nothing about I know nothing about altitudes like that and cabin pressure and anything like that. But from what I read, if an explosion like that were to happen, it would suck things out for a very brief second. And then cabin pressure would stabilize to the same as outside. If you were to step a couple of meters near the hole, you would be sucked out. But it wouldn't continually be pulling out like a vacuum like it was in the movie.
So everybody in the front or the back of the plane would not be continually sucked out.
They would have been. I mean, you would be completely fine. Probably not because you're in a plane that's going down. But
yeah.
Another thing is on that scene when they notice the zombies are there, they start putting a bunch of baggage in between as a blockade, which. Initially, you think, good idea, block the line of sight, don't even let them know you're over here, makes sense. What about when you land, though?
Wow.
When you land, all that baggage is going to fall.
Yeah.
And all those zombies are going to know.
Yeah.
There's no way to avoid it. That's just delaying the inevitable.
I guess so. That is. Because then whoever gets off first is lucky, and whoever's left is uh-oh.
Well, I mean, what are you going to do? When you're landing, normally you strap in.
Right.
What, are you just going to sit down in your seat, put on your seatbelt, and just hope they don't come through?
Yeah.
What are you going to do?
You're right. It's just delaying the inevitable.
But obviously, that's not how it ends. Also, we kind of skipped over it, but Jerry, on a satellite phone, calls Terry. Jerry and Terry, I just realized that. Calls Terry, and what is it? The cockpit's camera is showing the pilot, I have a phone call for you. And so the pilot comes and opens the door.
And the reason why they took that call was because
they had nowhere to go.
They had no destination.
They were just up in it. You saw them looking at the map. Well, we could go here. No, can't go there. Oh, well, what about here? Can't go there. And all these airports were infested. There was nowhere to go. And so they take the call. Terry guides them to
who is a undersecretary for the United Nations. So he tells them an airport that they can go to,
which was what country was that again?
It was one of the Nordic countries. Yes. I want to say it was the Netherlands. Netherlands.
I wanted to say Nepal, but that doesn't sound right.
No,
Netherlands sounds right. Maybe it's one of the Nordic countries. So there's a WHO facility there, though.
Right. Because now Jerry has we'll call it, it's still only anecdotal, but he watched now multiple times, and he has formed the theory.
He saw it in Jerusalem, too.
He saw it in Jerusalem, and his description was, I have watched these things break around people as water breaks around a rock.
Wouldn't even touch him.
Wouldn't touch him. Wouldn't even look
Didn't
at them.
bump them. I did point this out. They did acknowledge them because that was something I thought about. They mentioned that being sick was a form of camouflage. But
yes.
a camouflage would insinuate that you're invisible to them.
Yeah.
As the zombies were passing that boy in Jerusalem, you see a couple of them look at him as they're passing by and then just keep on going. Looking at him and going, not him.
Yeah.
So they acknowledged he was there. He was not invisible. They just wanted nothing to do with him.
Right.
So it doesn't really matter, but it's kind of a cool little nuance to it.
So this is why Jerry tells Terry, I need to get to a health facility. CDC, WHO, anything.
Leads them to the Netherlands, and they crash land somewhere nearby.
Yeah, because he threw a grenade in the plane because, there might have been a zombie or two on board.
Just a one or two, or
all of them.
200. I don't know. It's a big plane.
So, of course, here we go. I mean, we have to have the plot armor. Everybody on board is dead, except for Jerry and Segan.
Well, that was something. Before he even pulled the pin on the grenade, he looked around to see if it was a lost cause. He looked around. He saw everybody dying. The only ones left were him and Segan. And I think that's when
the pilots who died in the crash.
I think that's when he realized, I'm not hurting anybody by doing this.
Right.
Everybody's already dead anyways.
Yep.
So that's when he threw the grenade. They crash land in the forest, and he comes to, and I do want to point this out just because I think it's a little funny. The blood on his face was running down his face, but he was suspended and his head was tilted down, so the blood would technically be running up.
Forward.
Yeah, or forward towards his eyes and
Right.
down, not
Right.
straight down.
Right.
It was just a makeup error, but it is what it is. It doesn't really matter. You don't even notice it unless I point it out.
Yeah.
So now Jerry finds out he's been impaled.
Yep.
Like Olaf in Frozen. So he almost pulls it out, which you and I both pointed out.
Never do that.
In case somebody doesn't know, if you ever get stabbed, God forbid you ever do, but if you ever get stabbed, don't pull it out.
Nope.
You have no idea. That knife could be the only thing keeping an artery intact.
Yep.
Or keeping the blood inside. If you pull that out and that was the only thing keeping an artery together, you're going to bleed out.
Open airways. The blood's just going to come out.
Do not pull a knife. I mean, unless
Anything. If you're
you know what you're
impaled with
doing.
anything.
Unless you're, I mean, if you're like a nurse or a doctor, no way you're operating on yourself with that kind of wound.
Yeah.
So Segan, he looks to where Segan was sitting, and she's not there.
Yep.
So he unlatches himself from the seat, takes a very painful fall, and then Segan just comes around.
Yep.
And they end up walking to the WHO facility, which I found kind of convenient. They crash land in the middle of nowhere, by the way, in the northern mountains, and the city they went to is in the south.
Yeah.
But either way, they crash in this forest and then just so happen to walk to the WHO facility. So I don't know, a little bit of plot armor there, but
A little bit. I think ever since we got out of the car, ever since Jerry got out of the car in Philadelphia, he's been alive by plot armor.
yeah, 100%. I agree with that.
So now we get to the WHO, we figure out what he has this theory. Of course, you can't expect anything's going to go in this guy's favor. The whole wing that everybody healthy is in has no deadly viruses, no deadly bacteria that he can infect himself with to test his theory. They have to go into the trenches, the other side of the facility.
He tells them, I have a theory, and he explains the theory, and he asks, where can I get my hands on them? Or he's like, do you guys have any here? And he goes, of course. We have every virus and every disease mankind has ever known. And he goes, okay, where is it? In the other side of the building where all the zombies are.
Yeah.
Of course.
So
Why wouldn't they?
They see it all. They go after it all. Now, this is all just action-packed, tension, constant running and making mistakes. You have kicking Coke cans on the floor, banging crowbars into filing cabinets. Every mistake you can possibly make to make the viewer just feel so tense and want to jump out of their seat it's going to happen in this part.
Yep.
And he finally gets to his destination.
Vault 39. I think it was 39 or it was 139.
139.
139.
He finally gets to his vault, gets inside. Now it was funny. I do have to say this part was a little comical for me because he's about to break the window, and then there's a little phone call.
Well, because there's a passcode, there's a keypad,
Yep.
and so he goes, "Well, I don't know it." So he's about to break it, and then the phone call happens.
And then she tells him what the code is. He goes in, and
he leaves his weapon outside. Why would you leave it outside of the vault?
Yeah.
What sense does that make?
Well, because I'm safe, clearly, in this zombie-infested lab. Why would I need a weapon? And
super silly. Don't do that.
Yeah. And so, but it was great for us because he had to test his theory.
Yes. As soon as he gets in there, a zombie shows up.
Yep.
A zombie shows up at the door as he's packing all these. His idea was he was just going to pack all of these diseases and viruses and everything into
They're all in vials.
Yeah, into a box, and then take it back, and then they would inject him with the one that was safest to inject, because these were all lethal diseases.
Yep.
These were all things that have been known to kill humankind.
Yep.
He just needed to find one that we had a cure for, so that it wouldn't kill you, but could act as a camouflage. So, but the zombie shows up. So now he can't get to the phone. Apparently the camera doesn't move, which I mean, you brought up a good point. He wrote on a pen and paper, "Tell my family I love them," before he just injected himself. He just took a guess and injected himself with a random disease.
Yeah, I would have said, "I'm going to hold up a vial and tell me by calling me.
Call me if this is one that I should inject myself with."
But no, what fun would that be?
That would be too boring. No, random guess is way more fun.
We had to have our hearts pounding and wonder. When I first saw this, there's no way Jerry Lane is going to die. He's going to live.
He's Jerry Lane.
It's okay. But the part that was super tense, I know the guy's not going to die, but I still don't know if the director's going to mess with me he opens the door and the zombie, like, they fight, like he still has to fight for his life, but the zombie's not biting him or something. I don't know. They could have gone any number of ways that they did not go. The zombie just stared at him. They go face to face, and he walks out.
So that's an example. The zombie knew he was there.
That is, yeah.
The zombie looked at him. The zombie went,
but lost interest. He turned and said, "No, not you." Turns around, and then he didn't even look back at him until the door closed behind him. So now the zombie's stuck inside, which was great.
Yeah, the zombie did have this kind of look of like, what the fuck?
You fucking dick.
I'm locked in here, man.
So Jerry goes and releases, I think there were soda cans all over the floor, which caused all of the zombies that they caused to chase him down the hallway and stop at a door to come running right back.
Oh yeah, because that door. So there was A wing and B wing. B wing was where the vault was. A wing was where it was safe. There was a sky bridge in between. The sky bridge was the only way between the two wings, and all the zombies had piled at the sky bridge because the other two that were with Jerry,
Sagan and one of the doctors. I beg your
he was the
pardon,
lead doctor. They had to escape. They were getting chased, and they kind of led all the zombies away so that Jerry could get to the vault.
Yep.
So now Jerry, knowing that he's immune, drinks a Pepsi, which, by the way, had American FDA and calorie.
That's right. That's right.
Ingredients.
And we're in another country.
Yeah, we're in the Netherlands, and it was American FDA. What are those? The
all of the info labels.
What's in it and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So just a fun little fact. But then he releases the vending machine soda cans to attract them on. This is where he goes to the sky bridge and he just starts walking into them as they're running past him, and they run around him.
They just break around him.
One of them did bump into him.
Yep.
But I personally think that was just actor accidentally bumped into him.
It was still kind of cool.
Didn't matter. It was even cooler that he brushed a zombie.
Yep.
And didn't even care.
They get back, and then they do the final wrap up. This is You pointed out it is kind of a flawed statement when they started calling it a vaccine. Well, it's not a vaccine.
It's camouflage.
It's not going to do anything for you. It's not going to prevent you from getting it. It's just going to prevent them from seeing you.
Yeah, because originally when they were like, it works, we found a cure. And he goes, not a cure. It's camouflage. We have a fighting chance now. This is not the end. This is not, we're not all safe now just because we found this. This is just a way, this gives us a chance, a fighting chance against these things. So, wow, that actually is the end of he meets up with his family, who, by the way, was transported to a different spot because after the plane crash, Jerry was presumed dead. And this kind of
in the ultimate dick move.
Yeah, this is kind of fucked up. They kicked his family off the ship because he died, doing something for them. At that point, you just suck it up and say, I mean, he died. We might as well protect his family.
We killed your husband. You
Bye.
gotta go.
Yeah, what is that? That's so fucked up. So rude. But they were in some. It looked kind of like a Russian area.
Yeah,
like one of those northern areas.
It was actually not Russian. It
Croatia,
was Nova Scotia.
Nova Scotia, that's what it was.
So that's Canada.
Oh, that's Canada.
Yeah, that's just north.
Oh, I thought that was near. Wow, I have no. I don't know my geography that well. Apparently,
No, you don't.
No, I don't.
So the bottom line on this one, fantastic movie to watch. Super fun, action packed. Really, it never stops all the way through. I will say this, though. I recommend you read the book.
I do, too. Now, I only read a third of it. I set out to read the whole book before we recorded, and we even delayed recording. And I'll just admit, I read 130 pages one day, and after that, my brain was a little fried. So I didn't really get back to it. But I am going to finish it. I will finish it. It was just having a deadline kind of.
No, it is such a good read, and it's fun to read it from the perspective of an interviewer going around and catching all of these people. And I will just give you a brief snapshot that's worth it. You get to speak to, I'm telling you, as a first person reading this book, you get to speak to astronauts who were on the International Space Station at the time that this was all going on. And they describe the hopelessness that they feel when the world goes dark.
Yeah, they're watching lights go out. They're watching nuclear bombs go off. I mean, can you just imagine? Can you imagine being up in the International Space Station, looking down and realizing, how are we going to get down?
You know what?
Do we even want to get down?
You know what I really can't imagine? I really can't imagine that in a world that we have grown accustomed to, that all of the dark world is lit up. We'll call it all of the Eastern world is all lit up when it's dark, except for North Korea. North Korea is almost completely black by comparison. And when the world goes dark, North Korea was the only country that had any lights on.
Yeah, the CIA double agent that Jerry talks to in North Korea, actually, or in South Korea, explains that North Korea was doing just fine.
Yep.
And he goes, how? And he says, the second they found out about this, they went around and removed the teeth of every single
teeth and
person
fingernails
in North Korea.
Can't spread it.
You don't have teeth, don't have fingernails, can't spread it.
Yep.
And he said it was the greatest feat of human ingenuity. I forget. Social engineering. So we have a couple of minutes, actually. To be honest, we expected this episode to go way long and to have to split it into two, but we managed to really pack it in. So we have a couple minutes to talk about our favorite book parts, if you would like to.
Well, actually, what I want to do is bring in some of the telling of the movie into life, because we just talked about how we were watching those videos of the news with the COVID last year in 2020, and how they talked about zombie-like behaviors, right?
Yeah, that originally, that was like early February coming
People
out of China.
lying down on the ground. I mean, just out in the middle of the street, somebody collapsing on the ground
And then thrashing around.
convulsing like crazy.
That was scary.
I definitely say those were, and we already talked about before, Florida, the man eating another man's face.
The bath salts situation.
On the bath salts. We've seen things that most people, I think, will stop and say, no way.
Mm-hmm.
Zombies. The history of zombies is not without precedent. The history of zombies goes all the way through, all the way into ancient times.
I don't know if I edited that part out. But that was mentioned. If I did edit it out, I'm sorry, but I'll leave this one in. We did talk about that in a previous episode, that zombies are not completely make-believe.
No.
There's a lot of folklore and myths that have very similar creatures to, not exactly a zombie, but very similar. We talked about China has a like a Yuri or something like that. It basically, if you're not buried properly, your spirit comes to haunt the living. I believe it's Chinese. I could be very wrong about that. I didn't do any research, but
I think the one that we brought this up before. I think the one you're thinking of with China is Jiangxi.
Yeah.
The other one is the voodoo, and then there are just countless zombies, if you will, that go through history. Actually, as a matter of fact, if you want to research it, that's where our history of gravestones comes from.
Really?
Yeah, back in the old days, what they would do is bury the body, and they would put stones on the top of the soil so that the body can't come back out.
That's interesting. So I knew about the string with the bell.
Oh, well,
I knew about that.
That wasn't in case they were zombies.
That was in case they were still alive.
Yeah, because there were so many.
Because they were
dead
finding
people.
out that
that was the Black Plague.
Yeah, they were calling people. Doctors would call these people dead, and they would get buried, and then they would find out there were scratch marks in the coffins.
Yep.
So they were clearly alive.
Yep.
Either that or they were zombies.
Yep.
So that's where the graveyard shift comes from.
And
if you didn't know,
it was absolutely terrifying to me to think of bells ringing in a cemetery.
Could you imagine? Like,
no.
What do you even do?
No.
Well, obviously,
that's awful.
I mean, obviously,
What's worse is, could you imagine being a person who is buried alive?
That would be terrifying. Thankfully, nowadays, that's almost impossible to happen. We have such good technology that if you can get through all that, I mean, there's an autopsy performed. At that point, you're already dead.
Yeah.
Like, if you don't wake up,
we have had people who woke up right before the autopsy. So the bottom line, though, is without all of the plot armor, without all of the help along the way, Undersecretary of the UN who comes along and brings a helicopter, without the constant luck that this guy has, the RV that he gets. So fine, the guy, gets out, gets bit, and
why did he do it in the first place, though?
RV is taken by Jerry Lane and his family. The fact that it had a rifle inside of it,
very lucky.
Huge plot armor there. The fact that they found somebody in the apartments that they ran to who let them in, and they spent the night there, huge plot armor. The fact that they escape out of Israel with on a Belarus aircraft, huge plot armor. So this guy survives only off of that. They don't die in the plane crash. All of it to get him to the WHO. But we do see at the end, and they're dropping these things. They're calling them vaccines, but they're dropping these viruses or bacteria out there. I think they said it was a bacterial strain of meningitis.
Yes, that's what they said. One of the critics also pointed out that it would not be in a fluid form like that. But yeah, it's a movie. It is what it is.
So they drop it all around and everybody injects themselves. So that implies something. There isn't everybody. There were people who were making their stands and they were staying alive. I do personally think that it's people who stuck together, who worked together, who cooperated, who didn't fight each other for what little they had, but rather gained their resources together.
Against a threat as deadly and malicious as the zombies of World War Z, you will not survive alone.
No.
There's no chance. Against a zombie like that, no. I'm hesitant to wonder if we would even survive here.
And for our podcast, for our audience, I don't think we do. That is
they're
so
just
much
too much
plot armor, and I don't think that I have it in me to stay here indefinitely.
Even if all of that happened and we were home when it happened, the fact that they climb on top, but the fact that they're so agile,
yeah.
I can't imagine even Dawn of the Dead.
Yeah.
At least they don't jump and leap and climb on top of each other. We're safe on the second floor.
Right.
You're not safe anywhere with the World War Z zombies. That's what makes them so scary in my mind.
They climbed over. I mean, what would you speculate that wall
at
was?
Least
40 feet, 50 feet.
I was gonna guess 100. Those helicopters were up in the air.
Maybe even, and they just climbed up. Like it
was
ants.
Nothing. Like it was just a picket fence.
Well, that leads me to say it's World War Z. The zombies turn, or the human turns into a zombie in 12 seconds. And they run, they jump, they throw themselves at you. They climb. They will all form together and seem to work as a group to achieve a common goal, which is spread, make more just like me. I say again, I take no shame in saying I don't think I survived that. I would say that all of my survival techniques, all of my escape bag or bailout bag, as I like to call it, fulfillments and items, they're not going to do you any good.
No, not in this situation.
Not in this situation. And so, all in all, we're going to carry on hoping that we don't come up with a World War Z type zombie, because that would be the destruction of us. Well, I think that's going to do it for us this time. And we want to thank you all for listening to Will You Survive, the podcast. It's been fun. We thank you again. Tune in next week. We'll have more for you, and we'll be able to give you some more zombie survival tips. And we're planning on doing Resident Evil, which is just a fan favorite.
Love it.
So we'll get back to you guys next week. We thank you again. We look forward to seeing you. Talk to you later.